On the Gamebridge Ball State Cardinals Sports Network from Learfield. Welcome to This Week in Ball State Sports, a Ball State athletics podcast, highlighting the Cardinals athletic teams and administration each week. Presented by Gamebridge. Here's the voice of the Cardinals, your host, Mick Tidrow.
Hey, Cardinal fans, this is episode 24 of This Week in Ball State Sports, and we're going to have a little bit of a fun role reversal today. We have Director of Athletics Jeff Mitchell with us, but I'm going to hand the mic to him, and he's going to start the conversation, and we'll kind of go from there. We'll see what happens. Jeff, appreciate you doing this and having some fun with it.
Mick, always a pleasure. Great to be here. So I thought that it might be a good idea for me to interview you today, and for you to tell your story to the Ball State faithful and to learn more about the voice of the Cardinals and Mick Tidrow. So, Mick, why don't we begin by telling our fans how you got to Ball State in the first place?
It's a great question. It's a loaded question, too, because I didn't have any idea what I wanted to do when I first started thinking about college. Honestly, my senior year of high school, I didn't really think much about college because I was playing baseball. I thought maybe the future was in baseball. And my brother, who lives in Indiana, came out to Utah to visit us. And my family went out to Yellowstone on a trip. And excuse me, he asked me, he's like, hey, what do you want to do with your life? And I said, well, I thought I was going to play shortstop for somebody somewhere. And not going to happen. But he asked me, well, what do you think about sports broadcast? And I said, well, you can do that as a job. That's a life that people can live. And he's like, yeah, I did that in college and professionally for a little while as a TV news producer in Terre Haute. And he's like, okay, let's see what we can set you up. I know somebody who knows somebody that knows somebody at Ball State. They have a really good program. And I said, okay, let's give it a try, because I didn't know what I wanted to do, and it sounded really cool. It sounded like something that people could have fun with. So October fall break of my senior year of high school, my mom and I booked a trip out here, and we somehow got a meeting with Chris Taylor over at SportsLink, and Tim Pollard was the chair of the department over there at the time, and they sat down with me for a little while and gave me a tour of everything that was within the Department of, at that time, I'm already dating myself here, telecommunications, now Department of Media. Give me a tour, and I fell in love with it because you see the green screens. I think at the time, and maybe it still is, the green screen down in the studios was one of the top 3 largest in the world. So when that was pitched to me, I was scratching my head like, this is here. This place has this. So I was just intrigued, and they sat down and they said, hey, it's an application-based program. Your year is going to be the first 4-year graduating class with the new digital sports production tag. So it's called the Champions Program. You apply, go through the process, we'll have conversations, we'll be in touch. I didn't have any high school experience, and I didn't have the chance to get any my senior year of high school either. So if I were to get admitted, it would have been Chris Taylor, SportsLink, Tim Pollard, just rolling the dice on somebody from Utah that didn't have any experience. And I was in touch with Chris, and he emailed me back and said, you've been accepted. We're going to give you a chance. And from there, it was just a journey of so much fun, like 6 years of 2 degrees, bachelor's degree, finished that in 2018, came back from master's in 2020. But the first day I stepped on campus, I was able to pick up a camera and just go film soccer, and the footage was blue and green and all that stuff. So long way of saying that I didn't have any idea of what I was going to do, and it turned into something that is just absolutely special.
So take us through that undergrad journey and graduate school journey as well, Mick. How did those opportunities during college prepare you for what you're doing now?
Yeah, I think the first thing that pops into mind is the opportunities in SportsLink and at this university as a student are unmatched, because you have the chance day one to go do something and tailor your experience to what you think your track could be. And I thought calling games was going to be the fun aspect of this, and that's of course what the bulk of the work I do now. But at the time, I was just doing everything I could to learn about cameras, about the production side, about how to run graphics on a TV broadcast, how to run a camera. And those experiences taught me so much about every aspect of this business is super important. And from a TV broadcast standpoint, just using that as an example, knowing what the producer does, what the director does, how the cameras operate, what the replay system operators do, helps so much during a game that hey, if there's going to be a cut from this angle, how to talk with the analyst about it. Or if the director's going to throw up graphics, the cadence of what that looks like. And it's not just you're sitting in that chair going at it from a different perspective. So those experiences were nerve-wracking as an undergrad student because I had no experience. It was, we're going to put you in this shadow position to watch how to do replay, how to do graphics, and then we'll put you in the chair someday. And that day came pretty quick, and it was a little scary from the production standpoint because everything you see on screen is a button pressed by somebody back in the truck or nowadays a control room. So those experiences help pave the way to work with the athletics department as well. Travel with softball my freshman year, sophomore year, calling games, and then would go with baseball to trips down to LSU, and we beat LSU in a game out of a 3-game series, hit several home runs. Those trips they're always memorable. So I think those early experiences of just being told you can shape your experience and your college education in this program, in this department, however you want it to be. And being told those things as somebody who was 2,000 miles away, and of course I had my brother and my grandpa and uncle and some other family members over in Richmond, Indiana, but being told that from somebody who was so far away from home was special, and it gave me the confidence to be able to do it, and then led into a master's degree opportunity too here with the digital storytelling, and then with Learfield broadcasting the women's basketball games for 2 years. So much of that experience was day one, do what you want, go figure it out. Like, this is an experience that we want you to have, tailored to what you want to do.
What a great testament, not only to you and your accomplishments, Mick, but also to SportsLink and the vision of Chris Taylor and what he does in that program, and then just the volume of young men and women, talented young men and women that have come out of that program that have gone on to be great leaders and influencers in sports media. So you left Ball State and you went on a little bit of a journey, and then you returned to us. Talk a little about that experience outside the university, and then how you got back, and then more specifically, talk about the role you're doing now.
Yeah, Jeff, so 2020 was when I graduated with my master's, and that's right when the pandemic was hitting. So I finished defending my thesis in April of 2020 virtually, and at that point it was, how is this going to look? Because I felt like my thesis was done right before the pandemic hit, but we had to review some things. Our chair and committee went through the final stages, and then I went through the defense of that. So finished it, graduated, quote unquote, graduated in May, just because we didn't really have a ceremony or anything with the pandemic still looming large. So during that process, the job hunt was taking place, and it was very uncertain because who was hiring, who was going to keep people on board, and what did that all look like. So my wife and I, fiance at the time, we looked at the different options that would work for us, and there was a job at a company called Beck Communications in North Dakota that one of my buddies, Noah Reed, was currently at, and he said he didn't know that there was going to be an opening, but there was an opening that was posted, and he found out about that opening a week later, and I had already sent my stuff in. And the boss at Beck Communications talked to Noah and was like, hey, this seems like it would be a fit. And thankfully they kept me on during COVID. Moved out there in April right after I defended my thesis, and spent 2.5 years out there broadcasting high school, collegiate, professional, semi-professional sports. Got to travel around with the Indoor Football League. Condensed 50-yard field indoor football is just a fun experience. But just going around and seeing all those different high schools and colleges and how much athletics meant to people in the state of North Dakota was a blast. So worked there for 2.5 years, and then in March of 2022, Joel Gadet posted on social media that he was going to be leaving his position at the end of the school year. And at that time, there were still several months before that happened and before the process would even open up at Ball State. But I sent a note to a few folks here and people that I had interacted with, worked with during my time as a master's student and an undergrad, and just said, hey, I know this is a week after Joel announced it, but I'm interested. Would love to stay in touch, whatever that looks like. If you have a process that you're thinking about, I would love to know more. And that kind of just turned into a couple conversations here and there with folks within the department, and they posted the job in May or June, I think, and then offered the spot in July. And that was for radio, men's basketball, football, and then some TV here and there. And it was, as you know, Jeff, on a contract basis with both the athletic department and with Learfield. So it was really a unique opportunity to come in as so many things were happening and changing. And then when we got to December of 2022 of that same year, I was brought in the athletic department on a temporary basis. And then when you were announced as the director of athletics, we had a conversation and things changed. From my perspective, being able to jump in full time with the athletics department and stay with Learfield as well. So having that 2-for-1 has been tremendous for me, and I'm super grateful to you for opening those doors, Jeff. But yeah, that's kind of where the journey has gone since I left Ball State in 2020, and now having the responsibilities of radio for men's basketball, football, TV for a lot of the other sports, and still doing some for men's basketball as well. Helping out with the digital brand side of things. It's all a blessing. I've always said this, but Ball State is home to me, and it's always felt like home. So to be back here in this capacity is a blessing.
Well, Mick, it is a great place, and I want to recount the story a little bit about that meeting that you and I had.
Yeah.
So it was the first week that I was here, and I arrived on Monday, March 20th, a day very similar to the one we're experiencing today, which is a beautiful day with a little snow on the ground. And you kind of sheepishly poked your head in, and my calendar was pretty light that week, just because I wanted to be able to get around and say hi to folks within the athletics department before the schedule got really hectic. And you're like, hey, Jeff, do you think maybe we could have a little bit of a meeting at some point this week? I said, sure, this is actually a great week to do it. How about Friday? And you were so agreeable to it, like perfect. You just tell me when. So we had this meeting on Friday, and I could tell we needed to talk about something that you had on your heart, your mind, and I asked you, what do you want to do? And you handed me a piece of paper that basically outlined, by and large, the job that you're doing now. So talk about that from your end.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking that meeting so early on in your tenure, Jeff, because I didn't know what your schedule was going to be. I was like, he's jumping in as the new director of athletics, and I just have to ask. And I had talked to several people about it. How do I approach it? What does this look like? And they said, just ask. He'll tell you if you can, if you can't. And just trying to make it as personable as possible was my goal. It was nerve-wracking just because I was in a unique position of being on that contract with both sides. I was really hoping that this would work out the way that I was envisioning, and the way that some of the people in the department were envisioning too, to help out from, as you've talked about, depth and helping the department grow. So, the vision was, how can I help the department and make sure that Jeff knows, like, this isn't just for me, like, this is for the department, this is for the programs around. And I'm super grateful that you took the meeting on such short notice and such a short span of time as soon as you walked in the door.
And tell our listeners what exactly it is you're doing now.
Yeah, so within the Director of Broadcasting role, I help oversee the ESPN Plus productions of finding the play-by-play, the analysts, and sideline reporters. We work with SportsLink a lot for many of those events. So SportsLink will broadcast about 20 to 25 of those with their students in every single position, and then the rest of the events are University Media Services and athletics crew broadcast the rest of those. So we try to do as many events as we can throughout the years, throughout the calendar year. And then on the radio side, that director of broadcast role for the radio side still holds true, kind of with that role with football, men's basketball. I'll try to broadcast as many of the TV games as possible. I know there's tons of games that conflict with road games or with basketball, football crossover season and volleyballs, because not every department has men's volleyball. So it's fun to have that broadcast schedule as well, and then help out a lot with the social media side. So we have a lot of great full-time staff members in athletics, and then we also have a bundle of students and graduate assistants that work in the department as well. So I help work with them on the branding side of what graphics look like, how do we strategize this social media post, what does that look like. So those are some of my main roles, and it's a little bit different every day, because sometimes I'm helping somebody else with a project, or I'm helping lay out a plan for people in the office. So it's a really fun balance, because you get the broadcasting side, but I also get the aspect of helping other programs in different ways.
Well, Mick, we really appreciate what you do, and we're grateful that you are the voice of the Cardinals, and we offer continued encouragement as you continue to lead within our department and help us spread the Ball State brand.
Sometimes it's not the moment. It's the moment before the moment. The moment you make a choice. The moment you take control. The moment only you can own. Gainbridge lets you invest on your terms, so you're not only in charge of this moment, but all the moments to come. Start investing now at Gainbridge.io.
Well, Jeff, I appreciate you. Thank you. And go Cards. Now I'm going to grab the mic and take it back from you. We're going to reverse this role real fast. I know we've gone already 16 minutes here, but wanted to get your thoughts on a couple of things. I appreciate you wanting to flip roles and talk about my journey. That means a lot, Jeff. But let's start off with a big picture thing. We had the Walk a Mile in My Shoes with the Muncie Mission and Ball State Athletics, partnering with them, a lot of student athletes there. What did that mean for the department and Muncie Mission to link up and do that?
Well, I think it started with our Student Athlete Advisory Committee wanting to be involved in this particular event, which is so impactful for the Muncie community, the East Central Indiana community. And so our SAC group approached Ryan Hillenberg, who is our staff liaison, and said, we really want to do this. We'd like to get a large representation of our student athletes. We were constricted by the date because of the date, was when it was, and we had a lot of our teams on the road competing, but we still had over 80 student athletes from a large cross-section of our student or our intercollegiate teams participate in the walk. And what it was doing was raising awareness and raising needed resources for our community's most vulnerable. So you're talking about the hungry, you're talking about the homeless, you're talking about those that are burdened with an addiction of some sort, and it is creating an atmosphere of support within the community to help these vulnerable individuals. Our teams collectively raised well over $4,000 to contribute to the goal that the Muncie Mission had, and I think the Muncie Mission's overall goal was over $120,000, which they surpassed. And there were, I believe, more than 1,300 participants in this walk, and it was a cold day on Saturday, about 17 degrees, and these student athletes and many administrators were there to support the community and be involved. And it was great, and I really appreciate the fact that we were, as an institution and as an athletics department, were so willing to get involved.
Whenever you have those types of days within this athletics department, I think it really showcases what our student athletes are about and what our programs are about. How did you see our athletes interact and be a part of that day, and not just be there, but be involved and be active within the walk?
Well, they were communicative with people that recognize them as student athletes. We talk all the time about that they're leaders, whether they want to be or not, and they're recognized, and especially when they're in an event where they're wearing Ball State gear, which they were, and they were so gracious to people that talked to them, and were so caring about being involved in the broader Muncie community. Many of these student athletes trained before they came to the walk, so I overheard a conversation with our swim and dive programs. They were in the pool training, and then when they finished training, they came over to the Muncie Fieldhouse and participated in the walk. So just it continues to be an inspiring moment for me when we see these student athletes so devoted and involved in what they're doing for their own teams, and then yet find time to get out in the community and represent Ball State in a very meaningful way.
And it's awesome to see the Student Athlete Advisory Committee come together and help push such great initiatives. We've seen that throughout the course of the academic year and well before this year as well. Jeff, looking at some of the individual sports, men's volleyball, a couple of massive wins, especially on the road against Loyola Chicago. Took 5 sets. They were up 2-0, dropped the next 2, but that 5th set was a powerful statement set to get a big win on the road.
Well, it was, and that's a place where Ball State historically has not fared well. And as a matter of fact, I think it was only the second win in 20-plus years at that location. And, to win it in 5, whether you win it in 3 or win it in 5, it's a win. And this is a competitive men's volleyball league, the MEVA is. And we're playing really well right now with a 4-1 mark. And I'm excited about this team, that they are beginning to hit their stride. And the way they battled not only at home this past Thursday, but also on the road on Saturday, is really telling about the type of team that's coming together, and they're connected, and they're playing well. So look forward to continuing to watch these guys play over the course of the season.
We got to see an entertaining and exciting women's tennis victory over Youngstown State, 4-3. Those are the types of momentum-building wins that this program could have with a first-year head coach.
Young team, first-year head coach, and playing a challenging schedule. So when you can get the wins that whether they come easily or they're challenging, a win's a win, and we'll take it. And so proud of those young ladies. As a matter of fact, as we record this, there's an event at President Mern's house this evening to recognize their championship from a year ago. So look forward to celebrating those women at that event along with our new coaching staff.
That's really special, even though there is a new coach and so many new players, to recognize that team for its achievements and navigating through last year. It's impressive and super important.
An important part of our culture is to celebrate our wins, and so this is a way of doing that, and it's also a way for our student athletes to see the alignment of support for intercollegiate athletics. So the fact that I will be present and the president obviously will be hosting is really critical for our student athletes to see that we care about student athlete success at Ball State.
Talk about student athlete success here at Ball State. Women's basketball trailed against Ohio by double digits and then ends up winning by double digits. Kind of just shows the resilience of what this team has done, even with tough road games like the one they played against Ohio.
Yeah, they were down by 18 at one point and rallied to win by 15. So, I think Coach Salih said post-game that they don't get upside down or inside out when things aren't going their way, and they just stay true to who they are as a team. And again, I feel like I'm on repeat a lot when I talk about this team and how connected they are. But yet again, even in a tough environment, in a tough situation, they didn't panic. They stayed together. They trusted who they are as a team, what their identity is, offensively and defensively, and they just didn't bat an eye. And yes, they were down. They rallied to close the gap within 9, I believe, at the break, and then it was all Ball State in the second half. And they just kind of put their foot on the gas and went after it. And I think as we go down the stretch, our team is going to have to understand that sustaining success takes hard work. And I think they're beginning to see that, but they're taking every team's best punch, and they're going to continue to do that going into the last of several matches of the season, and as we get into conference tournament time. By the way, our team has clinched a berth in the MAC Women's Basketball Championship, so get your tickets, and we plan to see you in Cleveland.
Yep, see you in Cleveland. Couple weeks left in the regular season before we get to Cleveland, middle of March. Jeff, the baseball team comes off of an excellent start to the season, 3-1 weekend, beat Michigan State out of the Big Ten. That's a really good start for this team.
It is. It's a great start to start the season 3-1, to play some quality competition, and to see where you are this early in the season. I think Coach Maloney learned a lot about some pitching and his offense, and early season baseball is always interesting to watch because you can't get too high, you can't get too low, but you can begin to play with a level of consistency, and I think that's what our program has been for so long, certainly under Coach Maloney's leadership. And it was fun to watch them play this weekend, just to see what kind of style that they're going to have. And I think this is a team that's going to be a lot of fun to watch, particularly as the weather warms up and as the season kicks off.
And it's never a surprise when baseball goes and beats a Big Ten school or an SEC school. Like, this is a Ball State baseball program under Coach Maloney that has put itself on the map. So I don't think very many people were surprised around the country when Ball State baseball defeated Michigan State.
No, I don't think they were. And this is a program of excellence and, again, one of consistency. And so when we play, we expect to win. It doesn't matter who the opponent is. And I think that's a mentality that a Coach Maloney ball club has year in, year out, and this team's no exception. And excited for these guys as the season continues.
Softball's a couple of weeks into its season 2. How would you assess where they're at?
Well, I think they're competing. They had a couple of tough losses over the weekend, but got some good wins too, and they're battling. And that's been a hallmark of this particular team, and I think that Coach Pena and her staff are doing a nice job of bringing them along and helping them understand that they do belong, that they can compete, and as we get into the season, when we're playing in a more traditional format of playing a series, I think you have an opportunity to stack your pitching better, to put your best lineups day in, day out with these tournament formats early in the season. You're playing a lot of people. You're seeing who you have and how the young ladies are going to play and compete and respond to some adversity. And so I think Coach Pena has learned a lot about her team in these first couple of weekends, and I think they're going to continue to improve, and I'm excited for them.
We talked about women's tennis, jumping over to the men's tennis side real fast. 7-0 win against IUPUI. Really good match for them. Yeah,
great match. Coach Richards continues to be really excited about his team, and I think they're performing at a high level right now, and have tested themselves with a couple of matches early, which is, again, just great going into the competitive part of the season here as we keep going.
Where weather was warmer in Arizona, women's golf took third out of 14 teams, took care of business by beating every MAC team that was in attendance. Really good start for them, too.
A great start for them. Coach Andry said they were going to try to hit them straight and hit them long, and they did just that. So this is a team that's continuing to improve. Coach Andry's done a great job compiling a roster of talented young women to play golf, and so I look forward to seeing them continue to compete. They had a good fall, but to start the season the way they did, or the spring season the way they did with this third-place finish in a fairly competitive field, was pretty exciting.
Well, Jeff, before we let you go, is there anything else you want Ball State fans to know here on episode 24 of the podcast?
Well, despite the fact that we had the 5 inches of snow late last week, the weather looks like it is continuing to warm up a little bit, and so the spring sports are on the way. That's when you see more sunshine than you do clouds, that spring's on the way. And I think as our spring home segment begins here in a few weeks, that we encourage you to come watch our teams compete. And we've got some exciting basketball down the stretch in Worthen and certainly in Cleveland for postseason, and then also with the men's volleyball side, there's a lot of activity yet to be had indoors if you're partial to being warm and watching athletics.
Well, Jeff, I appreciate you reversing roles today, interviewing me, and then of course, for your time going through our programs. Appreciate you each and every day. Thank you.
My pleasure, Mick. Thank you, and go Cards.
We'll have Adrian Wheatley, Ball State track and field cross country head coach, joining us next on This Week in Ball State Sports.
Sometimes it's not the moment. It's the moment before the moment. The moment you make a choice. The moment you take control. The moment only you can own. Gainbridge lets you invest on your terms. So you're not only in charge of this moment, but all the moments to come. Start investing now at Gainbridge.io.
Cardinals fans, we're back on episode 24 of This Week in Ball State Sports, and we're joined today by track and field cross country head coach Adrian Wheatley. Coach, appreciate your time, and as we're recording this, there's snow falling down in Muncie, so luckily we're in the indoor season right now.
100%, absolutely, 100%. You know, again, it's 75 and sunny indoors every day here, so we'll take it.
Coach, this has been a really fun program to keep track of with the season that's in right now, the success that the program has sustained the last couple of years. But before we get to all that, just starting off, how have you seen this core group grow since they first got on campus in August this year?
Yeah, you know, the exciting thing about this group is we return a lot of individuals from last year's team. And so, you know, when we first got here, you know, one of our goals was to just establish a culture of team and understanding that not one individual is greater than the sum of the group. And so, again, making sure that we've identified the right people and continue bringing in individuals that want to be part of something bigger than themselves. And so, again, when we started in August, you look back and you see a lot of familiar faces. And so, again, you know, we've planted the seeds when we first got here, and the seeds are continuing growing and giving us good fruit there. So we're excited about the leadership that we have within our program. The ladies have really embraced that idea of team and it's fun. It makes my job a little bit more enjoyable because they understand the expectation. You know, it's you know, we want to be successful at the MAC level, the national level, and put ourselves in positions to create great people.
You had a lot of really good stuff in there, Coach, and we'll dissect kind of each section of that. But first, starting off with the culture, when you come in as a head coach and you're trying to establish what that culture looks like, how were you able to do that day one to help build it to where it's at today to make sure that your athletes are doing that type of stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, again, I think that, you know, kind of my leadership style is pretty simple. You know, again, I lead how I would expect someone to lead my sons or daughters, right? And so, again, it comes pretty simple when I'm making decisions and trying to establish that culture. Is like, what do I want for my own personal kids? And so, again, it was you know, coming in with a vision. You know, these are the things that we want to be able to accomplish. Being transparent with them, allowing them an understanding what we're doing, and then allowing them an opportunity to have a space in which they can trust that process, right? You know, we're process driven. You know, I know we hear that a lot in our profession, but it really is as simple as this is the objective, okay? This is how we're going to get here, and it's going to take time. It's okay. You know, in our program, we talk a lot about it's okay to fail. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to take chances. That's how growth happens. You know, a couple of my core values are, you know, again, I believe in, you know, being impactful. You know, how are we impactful, you know, within our team, within our community, within the university, within the athletic department, eventually, you know, state of Indiana and wherever these student athletes come from. So how are we impacting people? So that is one of my core values. Achievement, looking at how we are achieving those things, right? Looking at how we're achieving those pieces. You know, we're going to do things, you know, from a place of love and caring for each other and doing things the right way and not taking shortcuts and keeping each other accountable throughout that process and to achieve our goals academically, athletically, and as human beings. And then the third one is having a growth mindset, right? And that we talk about that all the time. Like sometimes it's, you know, hey coach, you know, like I've never done that before. I'm like, okay, you know, if we continue to do the same things we're doing, we're not going to improve. And so again, having that growth mindset to be able to understand, hey, how are we going to continue to improve what we're doing, trusting that process. And, you know, again, myself personally, you know, how do I continue to grow? Challenging the staff, how are we going to continue to grow? Challenging the student athletes to grow. It's just basically, you know, part of our DNA and what we're doing here in our program.
Coach, you mentioned those points, and those points are highlighted on social media after every single meet. Why do you feel like that's important to get that out there for the public to see those athletes in those spots?
Yeah, I think again, it's about acknowledging the student athletes that embody those core values that we have within our program, and I think over time, what happens is the student athletes, they end up, kind of our process on how we select those, that is student athlete driven. After meet, we have a leadership council, and that has continued to evolve as I've been here. When I first got here, I appointed those athletes. Now we've gotten to a point where everybody at some point throughout the year will have an opportunity to be on that council. And the reason why I decided to kind of open that up more, because I believe we're building a team and everybody has a part in this team. And so again, I kind of felt like if we have a group of 4 or 5 individuals, they're not necessarily talking for the masses. And so again, we've got a lot of good ideas, and maybe some people don't have that opportunity to be in those positions. So every week they are having an opportunity to be part of the leadership council, and we try to make sure that we are getting different event areas and different groups and things of that nature. And it's been really fun, because again, it forces student athletes to kind of figure out what else is going on, what their teammates are doing, not just being involved in what's going on in their event area, but also being able to identify, okay, hey, I saw so-and-so in the throws or in the distance or in the sprints or in a different area, the jumps, do something different outside of their own event area. And so again, continue bringing that team camaraderie and team focus, kind of permeating through our whole program now.
And that's teaching leadership styles for everything in life, too, not just for here in college and sports.
100%. Yeah, and I think, again, our jobs as coaches is to be able to provide opportunities to take student athletes from being dependent and coaching them to be independent. Because as we, again, there's going to come a point where they're going to have to hang their spikes up and put their running shoes away and things of that nature, and then be able to go out and work in, in the real world, being able for them to do those things is really important. So again, we try to set those things up, and, again, we've got individuals in this program that are the vocal leaders, and we have some that are the quiet assassins, and in different areas there. So we really try to make sure that we include everybody's different learning style or leadership style to be able to incorporate those things.
Coach, a couple of times we've talked about championship mentality so far. This last year has been full of those achievements at the national stage, with a national high jump champion, with Janelle Rogers being an All-American, conference championships. What for you has this last calendar year looked like for this program?
Yeah, it's been exciting. Again, when I got here, we had internal goals that we wanted to achieve. Again, those are things that, when I'm looking at building a team and how we're putting it together, are we accomplishing those overall objectives and goals? We accelerated that. We had a lot of success. I knew we would have success. I believe in the process. I believe in what we are building here at Ball State. Having the right mindset and the right individuals believe in what we're doing really just embodies just our overall goal and overall objective. And so, we had a phenomenal year last year, and again, we've celebrated it. And I think there's a lot of things that have happened last year that have not happened here at Ball State in a long time. And, we are excited about that. Now we can't rest on our laurels. We've got to continue to keep building that. And, the build is easy, maintaining is more challenging, right? Because again, you have to continue to keep pushing the envelope. And again, with having a growth mindset, sometimes you have to make some adjustments. You can't keep doing the same thing you did the year before, because if you're not growing, then you're not getting there. So yeah, it's been fun. I've really enjoyed it, and I look back on it, and I was joking with someone. I ran 0 steps last year. I ran 0 steps last year, and you're like, hey, good job. I was like, hey, my job is to be the steward of the program and be able to provide the student athletes an opportunity to be in the right place at the right time, and then be able to take some of the the stress of things off. Like I play loose. Again, I play loose. Yes, there's expectations, but we will. The sun will come up tomorrow. We will live to fight another day and go from there. And I think every championship team has moments and periods of adversity. The teams that manage those adversities and challenges the best are the teams that end up being successful. And every program and every team has those challenges and ups and downs and things that don't go right. That's sport. But how you handle that. And again, I believe that's I try to model those situations to be able to continue to build off of that there. So
championships are not far off from when we're recording this podcast. We talk about the past success, but what makes this team prepared to go for championships this year?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, I look at it as we try not to do anything that we haven't done before. I don't really necessarily believe, we've got to step it up and we've got to do these different things, because I think that's when teams make mistakes. We're really consistent in what we're doing. There's not a huge variation in what we do. We just try to do the things we do and do them well. And so from a standpoint of the next couple, the next week for our championships, the one thing that I always talk about is everything that we do is a dress rehearsal for the big show. And again, I say that over and over and over. And the young ladies have gotten to the point where they're like, oh, it's a dress rehearsal. I mean, yes, absolutely. And so, but I believe that, right? Again, it's, we have to be able to go through those simulate the meets and have different situations. And, sometimes it's scripted out, sometimes it's not. Sometimes we have adversity and things don't go the way that we want to from whatever standpoint. Okay, how do we manage this? This could be what the championship looks like. This is how this could happen. And so, again, providing opportunities for the student athletes to really take something from their experience to be able to use it to empower them to put themselves in position to compete at a high level. So I try to keep it pretty, hey, it's another track meet. There's just a name in front of it. Doesn't change what our objective is there.
That's a strong mindset, because then that keeps players, athletes all in the right frame of like, hey, we've done this before. Right. We've done this before.
Right. Yeah. We just, we're really strategic in how we are putting together our schedule and getting to the meets that we need to get to try to simulate some of those things. From for an indoor conference piece, there's each facility has a little different nuances and how things are set up. And so we try to make sure, hey, okay, let's go to that meet, that facility to be able to kind of see what it looks like and just continue to build some of those little pieces there. Like, hey, this is small. This is the warm-up area. This is where you're checking in. This is where the restrooms are at. This is where team. So then when they get there, they can already kind of put themselves, we've been here before. We've seen this.
It feels small, like those small details, but it adds up.
100%, yeah. And so again, we really try to take some of that anxiousness out of just the competition. Because as a whole, I mean, these student athletes, they want to compete high. They want to compete at a high level. They want to win championships. And so being able to kind of take some of that away to allow them to compete is really important. Give themselves a chance to compete.
Coach, your journey has been a journey, right? Everybody's got a story from what you have been able to go through within track and field, cross country as a coach. How would you describe what your journeys look like?
Yeah, you know what? It's fun. I've been I've been blessed to have opportunities to be here at Ball State and a great story. And again, I don't know if I've shared this before or not, but so back in the day, I actually got recruited here to Muncie, and so Coach Rogers and Coach Sprecher ended up recruiting me here. This was actually my first official visit because I'm down the road in Columbus, Ohio, and came over here to Muncie, there were other plans for me, but it was really when I accepted the job here at Ball State, I got an email or a letter from Coach Rogers, and it said, "Hey, Muncie finally got you," and I thought that was pretty special, to be able to look back on, hey, how things kind of come full circle, and at the time. It wasn't the path that was set in front of me then, but it is now, and it's just kind of that piece there. And so again, I've been I've worked with a lot of great individuals. I mean, student athletes have been amazing. Worked at great institutions, and each place along the way, I've taken a little bit of the things that I have been able to instill in the program that we have here at Ball State. The things that I've really been have been influential in my overall development as a man, but also as a coach and a father and all those type of things. I keep pulling from different things and trying to continue to add the good components in and continue to enhance the things that I already I'm already fortunate enough to do.
That is a really cool story, Coach, having it full circle, being recruited, getting that letter from Coach when you got the job here. Just going back to that moment real quick, What was going through your mind when you got that letter?
Yeah, it just made me also appreciate how our sport is kind of small, right? Again, we think it's this big ocean, and it's really not. And the people that you end up communicating or having interactions throughout your professional career, you never know. They all always comes back kind of full circle, and being able to look at the interactions and relationships that you have. I shared with the team last year, after the championship, I'm like, I want you to look around, because this team is the last time that this team will be together in this form. But you ladies will have a bond that will never be broken. And when you get to be my age and you get to be, the stories get bigger and the opportunities get bigger. And, I talked about my experiences when I was an athlete and being part of championship teams. Like, those bonds never go, and being able to experience that as a team is something that you'll remember for the rest of your life. And, again, it was a little emotional, and people were definitely very emotional with it. But again, they were tears of joy looking back on, like, hey, we've had our adversity. The things went the way that ended up going the way that we wanted to, and we just managed those things. So it was fun there.
Coach, I think that's an awesome way to let this thing end.
Yeah,
but
there you go.
We really appreciate you joining the podcast.
Yep.
Get best of luck at championships. Absolutely. And keep taking care of business.
Love it, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to This Week in Ball State Sports, presented by Gainbridge. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation on the Gainbridge Ball State Cardinals Sports Network.